There's a kind of heartbreak that never shows up in any breakup story. No fight, no goodbye, no last conversation. Just nothing. It never even started. And somehow, that's the one you can't stop thinking about. You didn't lose a relationship. You lost something that was never officially yours to begin with. So why does it feel heavier than losing something real? That question doesn't make sense at first, but your brain isn't lying to you. Something is actually happening in there. Something most people never notice. And once you see it, you'll understand why a person you barely dated can live in your head longer than someone you spent years with. You know the pattern already. Replaying one text for 20 minutes, reading meaning into a reply that took too long, imagining a whole future with someone based on a 5-minute conversation, checking your phone, then checking it again. None of this feels like a choice. It feels like your brain has a mind of its own. And here's the strange part. You probably felt embarrassed about it, like caring this much made you dramatic or too much. But what if that reaction was never really about them at all? Here's something most people don't realize. The chemical driving all of this isn't the one linked to pleasure. It's the one linked to craving. When you think about your crush, your brain isn't rewarding you for having them. It's pushing you to chase them. That craving chemical spikes hardest, not when things are going well, but when things are uncertain. A warm text one day, silence the next. That's not chemistry. That's your brain running the exact same loop a slot machine uses to keep people pulling the lever. Unpredictable reward is the most addictive kind there is. So the spark you felt? It might have just been your nervous system reacting to not knowing what happens next. But uncertainty alone doesn't explain everything. There's something else going on. You don't actually know this person. Not fully. So your brain does something quiet and dangerous. It fills in the blanks. One nice smile and suddenly they're also kind, also thoughtful, also exactly what you've been looking for. None of that came from evidence. It came from your own imagination, boring their face. This is why a crush can feel more perfect than any real relationship ever could. You're not in love with a person, you're in love with a version of them that only exists in your head. And that version never argues with you, never disappoints you, never has a bad day. Which raises a much bigger question. If a crush is mostly imagination, why does losing it hurt like something real? Think about an actual breakup for a second. Somewhere along the way you saw the flaws, the bad moods, the arguments, reality.in. By the time it ends, some part of you has already started letting go. A crush never gets that chance. It ends while it's still perfect, still untested, still full of everything it could have been. You're not grieving what happened. You're grieving what never got the chance to happen. And there's no name for that kind of loss. No breakup conversation, no closure, just silence and a story that stopped without an ending. This is where it gets even harder. If you tell someone your heart is broken over a person you never even dated, they usually say the same thing. You weren't even together. Just get over it. So you stop talking about it. You grieve it alone, quietly, like it's something to be ashamed of. But the pain doesn't care that no one validated it. Your brain still treats it like unfinished business. And unfinished business is something the mind is built to hold on to, not let go of. That's not weakness. That's just how attention works. An open question stays louder than a closed one. So here's where all this actually lands. You didn't lose a person. You lost the version of your future you had quietly built around them. The conversations you imagined having, the moments you pictured before they ever happened. That future felt so real your brain grieved it the same way it would grieve something that actually existed. Not because you were foolish, because that's what imagination does when it's given a little bit of hope. You aren't too sensitive. You weren't overreacting. You were mourning something that was real to you, even if it was never real to them. Maybe you didn't lose someone you knew. Maybe you lost someone you were still discovering, one small piece at a time, only to have that story end before it finished. That kind of grief doesn't need a reason to be smaller than a breakup. It isn't smaller. It's just quieter. And now that you know what was actually happening in your mind, that ache probably makes a little more sense. Not fixed, just understood. And sometimes, that's the only thing a feeling was ever asking for.